Hi friends, Aitherea here. Recently, there was a post on the Final Fantasy XIV official forums that has gained some traction. People have discussed it in my Discord, and I've also seen a few creators make videos about it. I have a lot of thoughts on the matter myself, but I think I have a slightly different perspective, which is why I also wanted to make a video on the subject. So first of all, let me read the original post to you. It's titled, Difficulty of Normal Content. I wanted to wait to see the raid tier before I say anything. There are already posts about dungeon and trial difficulty, and now normal raids should be thrown into the discussion too. And I might repeat points already said, but I think we should really make a point of this. We, the people not okay with this difficulty, need for the devs to hear it to hopefully make a course correction. The problem with the difficulty on normal fights as I see it is use and abuse of non-standard telegraphs, nasty mechanic overlaps, stuff you would see on extreme and harder fights, mechanics resolving too quickly for the mental capacity they demand to process, one too many catch this mechanics, which are apparently mechanics that have you running around like headless chicken, evading seemingly random patterns. All this has been making fights in this expansion frustrating and exhausting. The honeybee fight had me wishing for the healer to not raise me. I was there in the floor, dead for the nth time, thinking that I don't really want to be on that duty. And it's not an issue of learning the fight, because that I can do, but we don't do this content alone, you know? I think it was the 4th time I was doing Valley Garmonda when I finally managed to finish without dying myself. But that's a moot point when half the party was dead half the time. Even knowing the fight doesn't make it any less of a disheartening experience. And yes, this concerns normal raids too, even if they are optional content. In fact, I'm gonna take the skip option for this raid tier, something I haven't done since I started playing in Stormblood. And that's the point really. For the most part in the past 3 expansions, difficulty for normal content was fair outside of some hiccup here and there. I firmly believe that content meant to be done via the duty finder, where you don't choose who you're playing with, shouldn't be this level of punishing. And I know that JP people do savage in the duty finder, but we don't do that in NA or EU. For better or worse, Western players don't behave like Japanese players. Finally, I think that people that thrive with difficulty, the ones that demand harder content, already have extremes, savages, ultimate, criterion dungeons, and more. Yoshi P is even touting of savage alliances. These people are eating really good. Do they need to take normal content too? Can casual players have something easy-ish to play, please? So I think the easy response to this, one that even I had initially, is that the raids are optional and you don't have to do them if you don't like them. After all, if you think these are too hard, then there's no way you'd be doing any content that would require you to have the gear that these normal raids drop. However, after thinking about this for a bit and talking with a friend, I think this response, my initial response, is rather dismissive of what this person is actually trying to get at. The poster and those who agree with them feel like they are losing casual content. No matter where you land on the casual to hardcore spectrum, everyone wants more content that they like. More is always better. So for these people, it feels like content is actually being taken away from them, and they're worried that this will keep happening and they will have nothing left. Now, onto my actual opinions about the things they've said. I do not think the game has become too difficult. In fact, I made a video just a few weeks before Dawntrail came out about the healer strike and how they were making some very good points about the state of the game and how healers don't actually have to heal that much. Dawntrail has made efforts to solve that problem, and we're actually getting back-to-back hits, bleeds, some which actually require you to Esuna them, and 5-hit stacks or line attacks that require healers to be present. Healers feel like a valuable addition to any group now, where before it was pretty easy to run stuff without them. With mechanics being spicier, players are also making more mistakes, which in turn makes being a healer more fun because I get to heal them and help them. It's just actually really fun being a healer right now, and I finally feel like I have something to do. I finally feel like I get to press more than one heal button per fight, and it's amazing. So to me, the game is not at all too difficult. It's actually been made a lot more engaging and a lot more fun. Now, to go over this person's points specifically, first, they say the telegraphs are non-standard, and there is some small amount of truth to this. Look at the line attack or the donut attack from the honeybee fight. But at the same time, Final Fantasy XIV has a habit of doing this. Not all attacks are just orange telegraphs on the ground. Sometimes they're actual animations or visual cues like they are in the honeybee fight, so this isn't really abnormal. 14 likes to get creative with the bosses and their weapons and their designs, and they add that into the animations of the attacks. Like I said, this isn't really anything new. Next, this person says that the mechanics have nasty overlaps, which you would see in Extreme or harder. What we're seeing in these normal modes is nowhere near as stressful as what happens in Extreme Trials or Savage raids. The Extreme and Savage fight mechanics tend to happen far more quickly and hit way harder. The normal mode is still so much more forgiving, and I feel there's still plenty of breathing room between mechanics, even if there are now a few more back-to-back mechanics than there used to be. Next, they say mechanics resolve too quickly for the mental capacity they demand to process. I don't really understand this point, because that would make Savage impossible, wouldn't it? The reality is that Savage Raiders are not geniuses. They don't just understand mechanics immediately. They don't have better brain processing speed than anybody else who's playing this game. Instead, they spend hours. I have done this. We spend hours wiping to mechanics over and over. While it's understandable that doing such a thing isn't everyone's cup of tea, being able to process a mechanic quickly simply comes down to practice. Yes, in Savage and even Extreme, the mechanics can be really fast-paced. Sometimes it really does feel like I just can't think that fast. I felt that way about the swords mechanic in the second Extreme trial, the Volok sync part. But now I understand how they work, and I no longer feel like I can't think fast enough. Genuinely, this is just a matter of practice, and the more you do the fight, the easier it becomes to ascertain the safe spots. Finally, they say that there are too many catch this mechanics that have you running around like a chicken with your head cut off. They describe the patterns of mechanics as seemingly random. First of all, the patterns are not random. The only randomness Final Fantasy XIV has is which will come first, ice or thunder, if we take Valyagramonda as an example. But this game has always had a set amount of patterns in each fight. You simply need to identify which pattern the boss is doing. Once you have, you will know exactly where the safe spot is. This is not random. As for mechanics making you move a lot, it can be annoying sometimes, to be honest. I don't think the new raids have too much movement. They don't really feel too crazy or fast-paced to me, but I am likely more of a skilled player than this person, so that really is going to be a matter of preference as to how much movement you like to have in a fight, I guess. Another thing they say is that it's not about learning the fight, but honestly it is. It is exactly about learning the fight. The better you get at a fight, the less difficult it becomes. That's how practice works. They try to then say that it doesn't matter if you get good because other people are bad. So what does it matter if you're good if other people are suck and they're dead on the floor? But other people also just need to practice. They won't be bad forever. Not to mention, a good player absolutely can carry a party. Other players could follow you to safety. If you're a tank, you can use skills to cover bad players. If you're a healer, you may be able to carry a whole entire party. As long as you're alive, you can heal and you can raise people. This person, I think, is ultimately trying to say that, it's not about learning the fight, it's that the mechanics aren't fun. And while they're entitled to that opinion, there is a lot of value in learning the fight. At the very least, you're definitely going to be less frustrated if you're good at it. Finally, they mentioned that those who are enjoying this difficulty, like myself, already have a lot of content we can do, so we don't need more. Or at the very least, we shouldn't be asking that normal modes be made any harder. Here's the thing. As someone who enjoys a challenge like Extreme and even Savage sometimes, those kinds of content are not things that I want to do every day. They require far too much focus, and they're not exactly relaxing. Sometimes I also just want to do easy, laid-back things in this game. However, even though I do want to do laid-back content, that doesn't mean I want it to be boring. And up until now, a lot of it has been. What I'm looking for is not to make normal modes the new Extreme. No thanks. I would also hate that quite a bit. I don't want that either. I just want to actually have to heal something. I want the fights to be more engaging than they were before. I want them to have a little extra spice. And now they do. So even though the more quote-unquote hardcore players do have a fair few options between Extreme, Savage, Criterion, and Ultimate, what we don't have is laid-back content that is also engaging. And that's why we wanted to see normal modes tuned up ever so slightly. Now that I've addressed my own thoughts regarding the statements this person has made, I want to address some other comments, specifically the get good kinds of comments. A lot of people reply to these kinds of posts with animosity, basically just calling these people bad players and saying that they're a problem and should try to improve at the game rather than coming to the forums to complain. And you know what? They probably are bad players, but I'm not trying to say that as an insult because in my opinion, it's okay to be a bad player. Anyway, I think the reason these kinds of get good comments exist is because the people saying them feel threatened. They see these complaints on the forum and they are worried that the devs will listen to this. They feel like they've finally gotten what they wanted. The devs are trying to make normal content less of a snooze fest. And I totally agree that Dawntrail has revitalized battle content in a way that I totally did not expect. It's understandable to be afraid that something you're excited about will be taken away if too many people complain. To us, this content isn't even hard. So it's pretty easy to just go the route of telling people that it's their fault that they're bad and they should just shut up and go play other content or quit the game as a whole if they don't like it. The thing is, that doesn't really get us anywhere. When people complained about healing being boring or the game as a whole being boring, did they enjoy it when others just said they're too hardcore and need to touch grass? Probably not. All this does is create animosity in the community that isn't necessary or helpful. First of all, if you disagree with the sentiment that Dawntrail has become too hard, then disagree. Do it publicly on the forums just like these people have. Think of it as putting your vote in. But in disagreeing, you do not have to be nasty or dismissive toward the people you disagree with. There will always be bad players in the game. There will always be people who are so bad they can't even do trust dungeons by themselves because they will die too much and reach the lockout. I think these people still have a place in this game because Final Fantasy XIV has a plethora of content, and I truly believe there is something for everyone. And as a side note, I think they need to edit trusts and make it so that the NPCs can raise players, or so that if you kill the boss 50% then die, you come back to the boss, it's still at 50%. Like, they need to do something about this. Anyway, as much as I don't want these people who are saying Dawntrail is too hard to have their way, and I don't want normal modes to go back to how they were in Endwalker, I also don't feel the need to push these people out of the game. We likely can't all get what we want. Probably someone is going to be disappointed. But I would like to try and encourage these people. I would like them to know that it's okay to floor mat. Okay? It's okay to floor mat. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to wipe. I would like to encourage them to give this new content a chance, because I do think a lot of them are capable even if they don't think they are. Don't start with a defeatist attitude. Like, come on, my dude, you posted on right the day after that this stuff came out. Of course it's difficult and everyone is dying. That's how it's supposed to be. It takes a little bit of time and practice to get good. If you feel frustrated with the content, then take a break and try again another day. Waiting can help because when the content has just dropped, nobody knows the mechanics, like I said, so there will be wipes and lots of dead players, and if that's something you dislike, then you really should wait it out. It's been 2 days since the new raids dropped, and I already have gotten parties that know the mechanics, and it's been really smooth. And I'm in Crystal, the data center that everyone thinks is full of bad players who only know how to roleplay. Not to mention, we will all be getting better gear, which will lead to better survivability and faster kill times. So you don't have to play right this instant if it's not fun for you. I would also recommend trying to play with friends if that's an option. Turn it into a fun hangout, get in Discord, and if you guys wipe, laugh about it. I also think the sentiment that people should just be good by level 100 is really out of touch. Some people have only just finished the MSQ. They've leveled up a single job to 100 and they haven't touched a lot of optional content. They really don't have that much experience, like how many times have they ran each dungeon in the game, and there's some they haven't even unlocked. Not to mention, the game does not teach you what a stack marker, red Dorito, tether, or so many other things do. You learn these mechanics and these tells and these tethers and what these things are, you learn them by dying to them or by having other players teach you. Some people may not be new players, but this game isn't their life. This game isn't their personality, it's just something they do to relax. They're not that dedicated. They're not that interested in studying how to play the game. They don't want to go on YouTube and watch videos. They don't want to go to the balance. They don't want to read stuff. They just want to, play the game. Some of them don't play every day or even every week. Some of them do actually watch videos and guides, but they struggle to put it into practice once they're in-game. And some people are just plain bad at video games, and that's okay. And finally, there's other players that, like I said, they straight up just don't care. They don't care about being good. That's not something that's fun for them. That's not something that motivates them. And some people seem to take issue with this, as if it's a personal affront to them that other players have different priorities. Like, hey, this person didn't bother to learn about this game, so they're a blight. That's a sentiment that exists in some parts of the 14 community. It's kind of crazy to me because if you get stuck with a bad player, it probably takes 5 minutes longer tops in any normal mode content, and you do also have the option of leaving. It's also just part of doing roulettes. Whenever you do roulettes, you have to accept that it's a mixed bag. You have to accept that you're rolling the dice and you might end up with people that suck. You might end up with players who don't play the game your way. They don't play the game the way that you wish they would, the way that you think people should. But this is an MMO. We all have our own different ways of playing this game, and we really need to get better at respecting that about one another, especially because, like I said, you do not have to play with people if you do not like how they play. You don't have to play with them. You don't have to. It's totally valid to just be like, I don't like the way this person plays, they don't match my playstyle, I don't like that, I'm not going to play with them. Just don't play with them. You can leave, and I know it's like, 30-minute thing, that sucks. Go watch a YouTube video, go farm fates, go craft something. Like, there's so much you can do. I have a video about what to do when you queue. Go watch that. That can be what to do while you sit out your 30-minute period because you couldn't stand playing with a bad player, okay? Like, there's things you can do. That said, even I have certain expectations, but more so when it comes to extreme and savage content, and I think that's normal. For me, I don't really care if people suck in normal modes, but when it comes to extreme or savage, that's when I have some expectations, and I personally think that's fair. But all of that said, in normal modes, you really don't have to treat people like they're the worst thing that ever happened to this game just because they're a bad player. At the end of the day, expecting other people to play the way you play is just as self-centered as these people wanting the game to be dumbed down. And I already know what the response will be. It's something like, I don't expect them to become as good of a player as me or care as much as I do, but they should at least know the basics. And of course, the basics, what does that even mean? It's different for everyone. And sometimes the basics aren't so basic. And honestly, that's still the same thing as you having a belief about this game that you are pushing on to others because you believe they should be doing a certain thing and playing in a certain way. There are millions of registered accounts. It would be better for you and for your sanity to accept that some people are bad and don't care and never will, and just let them enjoy the game in their own way, and you enjoy the game in your own way. Again, you do not have to play with them. No one is forcing you to. But you also don't need to be rude, and you can stop acting like your opinion on the matter is fact. You should really throw your expectations out the window for normal mode content. Like I said, it makes sense to have expectations for extreme or savage, but normal mode? Dude, take a chill pill. Bad players exist, and they always will exist. They are never going away. It might be time to get over it. So, while we should absolutely continue fighting for the content we enjoy, go Dawntrail, our efforts would be better placed in encouraging other players to rise up to the challenge rather than tearing them down and giving them the useless and rude advice to simply get good or quit. Because if too many people do quit over this, the game is going to go back to how it was before. It's going to be that snooze fest. It's going to be boring and you're not going to like it. Let's help them and let's convince them that the content actually isn't so bad once you get used to them. And by helping them, I don't even mean that you have to go out of your way. Go about your day-to-day life in Final Fantasy XIV, and if you have the chance to offer some encouragement, take it. If you have the opportunity to carry a party, carry it. I don't know about you, but I often feel like a god when I carry a party. It's pretty satisfying. And if you're just a gremlin who can't stand bad players, then don't play with them. It's that simple. Okay, I think that was everything I wanted to say about this topic. I hope. I'll probably end up thinking of something I missed after I'm already in the editing stage, and that's just how it goes. As per usual, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter in the comments. Do you find Dawntrail to be too difficult, or have you been enjoying the changes to the battle content? And of course, if you like this video, please consider leaving a sacrifice to Lord Algorithm in the form of a like, comment, share, or subscribe. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my channel members for supporting me. Bye!